Environmental concern has one of the major concern of sociological literature in contemporary world. We are talking about the issue of environmental degradation, issue of climate change and climate justice. However, there are few experts in India, those who are working on the issue of environmental sociology and dealing with the whole issue of environment and its relationship with human being. Professor Salunke from Shivaji University, Maharashtra, he has specialized himself in the area of environmental sociology. Let us know from him, what do you understand by environmental sociology?
Sir, environmental sociology is recently emerged subfield of sociology. It is sub area of the discipline of sociology. Initially, there were studies about ecology, and the social ecology was the term used to address the area of study. There are differences, terminological differences, but let us talk more about environmental sociology. Environmental sociology has its own unique subject area, and that is understanding, comprehending the interaction between mutual interaction, mutual influence between society on one hand and environment on the other. So, understanding interface, understanding interactions, interrelationships between society on the one hand and environment on the other hand is the subject area of environmental sociology.
Professor Salunke, environment as an issue has been widely covered by the academia, policy planners and also the civil society activists.
Yes.
As a sociologist, you were studying this phenomenon. Can you spell out what has been the role of non-government organization as a civil society representative at the grassroots to the environmental, towards the environmental issues?
Yes, NGOs are non-governmental organizations. This is a very important, very important phenomena, and NGOs are coming in the field of environment, particularly after 70s, but after 1980s. There is large number, they are coming in large numbers. The number is increasing and they are diverse in their activities, and in the field of environment also there are different kinds of NGOs, different types of NGOs. Suppose we can think of NGOs working at the ground level, there are NGOs working at the state level, there are NGOs working at the national level, and there are also NGOs working at international level. Of course, depending upon the context, their role also differs, but the issue remains, major issue is they are interested in the issue of protection and conservation of environment. At the grassroots level, their role is all the more important.
You have undertaken some important study on the role of NGOs on the environmental protection. Can you highlight some of the important findings of yours?
Yes, recently I have completed one research project on the theme, the role of NGOs in environmental protection. The context of this, I will talk about the context of the study. As you know, in the field of environmental sociology, study of environmental movements is an important subject area. Large number of studies are available, but they have been confined. What I found, that they have been confined to more popular movements. For instance, Chipko movement is studied by number of scholars. Narmada Bachao Andolan is studied by number of scholars. Tehri Dam, all other famous movements are there. They have been well researched by the researchers. But what I noticed is that large number of NGOs are coming up at the grassroots level, and they are doing important work in this field of environmental protection. And I thought it proper to understand their work, and as far as theoretical concern was concerned, whether they can be, these could be understood as a part of environmental movement. Their work, whether the work could be understood as a part of environmental movement. And understanding the nature of the groups, understanding the work that they are doing in the actual field and considering them as environmental movement organizations. These three were important objectives of that study. Of course, it was empirical study. I had collected data for the study from the respondents and key activists. I had interviewed key activists personally. Some of the data were also corrected with the help of questionnaire constructed for the purpose, and I focused my study, I confined my study to the three districts in southwestern part of Maharashtra: Kolhapur district, Sangli district and Satara district. I selected 75 NGOs working in the field of environment for this study. I studied their characteristics. As far as characteristics of these NGOs are concerned, there are some points which I would like to highlight on this occasion. First thing, when they started coming up, my first important observation is that especially after 1980s, NGOs are coming up in the field of environment in large numbers. There were few NGOs working for a long time, but majority of the NGOs have come up after 1980s. Secondly, in terms of their size, majority of the NGOs are small NGOs. This is another significant feature. Third, more important, NGOs, we can distinguish between NGOs getting funds from other agencies, funded NGOs working for on funded projects, and NGOs not receiving funds, doing the work on their own by means of contributions, donations, such kind of, that is membership contribution particularly, and collecting funds required for the purpose and occasional collection of funds. Such kind of NGOs are more in number. I found that in the three districts, more number of NGOs were non-funded NGOs. They are collecting contributions from the members, and on the basis of money thus collected, they are undertaking the activities. Another important feature of these NGOs is that there are various types. For instance,
at this stage, do you like to highlight the kind of role these NGOs played on the environmental issues at the grassroots?
Yes, they are playing an important role, but I would like to highlight only two types of NGOs. One is the NGOs which have been registered, and another type is the NGOs which are not registered but still working in the field of environment. And third very important category recently emerging is that there are informal environmental groups. They do not have formal organizational structure. These three types of NGOs were prominent in the NGOs which I have studied. As far as their work is concerned, they have different programs, they have their objectives. The first objective is to create environmental awareness among the masses. For achievement of this objective, what they are doing? They are organizing public meetings, they are visiting schools and colleges, they are delivering lectures, they are screening the films on the subject of environment, they are organizing competitions connected by giving themes connected with the environment. They are collecting seeds of different trees. They are creating awareness through writing newspaper articles, magazines, then giving interviews to different say media persons. Like that, they are creating awareness. So, creating awareness is their important task. Secondly, imparting environmental education is their second most important objective. For this, what they are doing? They are organizing courses. Some courses, say short duration courses, 1 week course, 15 days course, or one month course. Actually, short duration courses are more important, and they invite the experts in the field, and they enroll the participants, and they explain to the participants the complex nature of the environment and importance and significance of conserving environment, not for only human beings, but for all the living species on this planet. Third, the third important activity is actually intervention. Wherever there is damage being done to the environment, wherever the human interventions are causing environmental destruction, they are bringing these facts to the notice of the public in general. They are organizing agitational programs, they are coming together and they are telling people that one should not do this, right. For example, on the issue of water, on the issue of land, on the issue of say forest, tree protection, tree cutting, these are important things, and because of human interventions, developmental projects like mining, developmental project, for instance road building project, number of trees are being cut. These groups are organizing themselves and they are stopping such destructive activities. They are objecting many projects without clearance from the government. They are participating in public hearing sessions and they are raising points so that environment is conserved, environment is protected. So, this is one of the activities, actual mobilizing people and agitations, sit-ins and all such programs, dharnas and all such programs, questioning government officers, knocking the door of pollution control boards, and you see working for the issue of water pollution, working against actually for stopping the pollution of the water. So, such kind of activities. More importantly, one more important function of NGOs is they are also involved themselves in undertaking studies, research studies. Many of the resource persons involved in this, many of the activists involved in these movements are highly educated, having research degrees to their credit. They are undertaking projects and they are scientifically studying various issues.
Professor Salunke, what are the distinctive features of grassroots level NGOs working on environment?
The important thing is that grassroots level NGOs are focusing on ground level realities, locally relevant issues. That is the most distinguishing feature of work of NGOs at the grassroots level.
Thank you, Professor Salunke, for giving wide variety of information related to the specific feature of environmental sociology, its place within the whole discourse of sociology in India and abroad. You have also widely covered the whole issue of NGO engagement with the issue of environment and at different levels with the different kind of issues, and what are the specific features of grassroots NGOs. Thank you very much for being with us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.